Hey, Taylor Elwood here, and thought I would make a video since it's been a little while since I've shot one. And I was recently asked by one of my readers how my approach to working with demons, angels, fairies, spirits in general differs from more traditional approaches to working with spirits. And I thought it was a good question and an interesting one, so today I'm going to share that answer. I would say that my approach differs from more traditional approaches to working with spirits because it's based on mutual respect, first and foremost. What I've noticed with more traditional approaches, specifically the Grimoire/Solomonic traditions, is that there's a tendency to view spirits as antagonistic beings that have to be controlled and compelled. You know, let's look, for example, at working with a demon. The idea is, okay, we're gonna call this demon up. We're gonna call on angels to lay the smack down on that demon and spank it if it doesn't do what we want it to do, and we're gonna threaten it and force it to do what we want. I personally don't find that approach to be very appealing. And that's just in regards to demons, but then when we look at it in relationship to angels or fairies or any other type of thing, you know, there's always this notion of, well, these spirits are out to fuck with you in some way, and we have to you have to outfox them or find some way to control them or do other things in order to get what you want from them. And I think it's kind of an approach that doesn't really work for me. And so my approach to working with spirits has always been to come at it from a place of mutual respect. When I first connect with a spirit, I approach it from, here's what I can offer you in return for this that I'm looking for. And then we decide whether or not it's a mutual fit. And it's not always a mutual fit. I don't work with every single spirit that I contact. And sometimes I've even stopped connecting and working with spirits that I have worked with for a while. I in this last year, I ended up I stopped working with a couple of the spirits that I'd been working with for a long time because I realized that the relationships had diverged. It was no longer a good fit. And we were able to part ways mutually without there being really any real negative side effects, which was good for me. And it kind of illustrates my approach because when you're working with spirits, if you can do this in a manner where you're not necessarily you know, antagonizing them and setting them off and creating enemies for the rest of your life, then hey, you're doing it right. I mean, I don't see any reason why to make life more complicated than it is. So my approach to working with spirits is really based on mutual respect. And that respect again does come down to here's what I want, here's what I'm willing to offer. Okay, we decide to make that agreement. Great. The other aspect is that when I work with spirits, I always try to utilize my talents as part of my offerings. Whether I am doing a painting or a drawing of a spirit, which is what I usually do when I create what I call evocation portals, which I'll come back to in a little bit, or whether I write a chant or a poem to a spirit as a way of praising it or calling upon it, but at the same time bringing attention to it, or even whether I write an article or shoot a video where I talk about spirits that I work with. So let me show you a few examples artistically that I've done. This, for example, hopefully you can see it, is a symbol of Glacia Lobolus, which is a demon I've worked with before. And when I first started working with him, I created that painting as an offering and an evocation portal. Again, I'll return to what I mean by that. Because I wanted to connect with him and work with him. And then here's one of Elephant, which again, I've always had a strong connection to Elephant. Elephant is, I'm just going to say it, it's my totem spirit, my spirit animal. I don't know how else to really put it. Elephant has always played a significant role in my life, and so that was a way to honor it. And then this is a drawing I did of the Archangel Raphael. So that artistic work is done as an offering, but it's also done as a way to help cement the connection that's been established and create what I would call evocation portals. And what evocation portals are It's essentially the idea that what you're doing is you're anchoring the evocation into something physical, in this case a painting or a drawing. And then anytime you need to evoke that spirit, you have that painting or drawing to draw upon. It's already laid the base groundwork, and you're essentially opening the portal to connect with the spirit as needed whenever you need to or want to. And so that's another way that my approach differs, because I don't believe in doing more work than you need to with anything. And so the evocation portal is kind of my elegant way of cutting down on the evocation work and really creating a permanent connection or semi-permanent connection with the spirit that I'm working with as a way to effectively call upon them as and when needed when I'm doing the magical work that I'm doing. The other thing that I like to do is also approach it in terms of the offerings. Like I said, the writing, the things, using my natural talents. Now, I can do traditional offerings like giving some food or wine or whatever, and I will do that on occasion. I did a working with some fairy spirits where I provided some spring water, for example, to them as an offering. Or I might do an offering where I walk the land and spend some time in the land and then offer some type of body fluid, spit, blood, semen, whatever is appropriate. And again, do that as a way to establish a connection. I've done that before, both in terms of just working with the land and working with a given spirit. There's something to be said for that exchange of essence, where you're exchanging some of your life essence in return for some of their life essence, basically. And that's another approach that I take that differs from the classical approaches, because I don't think most people would, and the classical approach would even think of the idea of, well, let's give some blood to this spirit that we're working with, or something like that. They'd probably say I was insane. But I found that it's led to deeper and closer relationships, and that it has been a mutual exchange of essence that essentially, again, allows me to tap into and connect with them in a deeper way. So I would say that that's really how my approach to spirit work differs. And I guess the other way that my approach differs is that I look at my work with spirits as just being one thing among many that I can do magically. Like, some people will work exclusively with spirits to get whatever they want, and I get it. I don't approach it that way. I mean, there are times where I will do magical work myself, where it's very just direct and focused on me doing the work. And then there are other times where I'll work with spirits. And I'll work with them because they offer some type of advantage or insight or something else that can help me get ahead. I think the other thing that I would say is that in general, that makes me different, is that in general my relationships with spirits tend to last a long time. I mean, I work with them over a long period of time. But again, my relationship is one where sometimes I'll work with them for a while, and then I won't work with them for a while, and then I'll come back and work with them. I still do a daily offering where I thank them every day for how they show up in my life, because to me that's an essential part of recognizing their presence. Oh, and there's one other way I differ from the classics. I actually believe in working with pop culture spirits. That's right. I believe that you can work with modern day spirits, and that in fact pop culture actually is viable as far as connecting with and working with spirits. And that's again something that people who are of a more classical bent would say, well, those aren't spirits. They're not real. Well, I mean, to each their own, but I've found them to be very real, and I found that they've had a very real impact in my life. So I think that's really the different ways, that's the ways that my practice with spirits is different from other people's. I don't think there's a right or wrong way about it. I mean, whatever works for you. If you find the classical approach works, then go with it. That's great. If you find my approach works, great, then go with it. Or better yet, if you experiment with all of the above and you develop your own way, then hey, more power to you. I think that what's really important is that you are authentic about your relationships with the spirits, that you honor the spirits that you work with, and that you're coming at it from the right place. That it's not just about getting something, that it is really about creating a mutual beneficial relationship. And that's where I would just say, I think it's really wise to examine carefully the implications of a given style of magic and to ask yourself, is this how I want to show up? And is this the kind of relationship I want to form? Alright, so that's my 2 cents on how I work with spirits and how it's different from other people. Feel free to comment below, and also, if you're interested in more of my stuff, make sure that you grab my free ebook, How Magic Works, because that'll get you onto my e-list, and the benefit of that is that you get weekly articles that are exclusively written for that e-list. Okay, thanks, and take care, and have a great and awesome day.